Up and down the sidling ground, the great black crows are flying, and just below the fire I know another milker's dying. The crops have withered to the ground, the red clay tank is flaring, but from my heart no tear nor sound, for I have grown past caring. Through death untrod will turn about to hopeless desolation, through flood and fever, fire and drought, through slavery and starvation, through childbirth, sickness, fear and blight, through loneliness and scaring, from being left alone at night, I've grown to be past caring. Our firstborn took in days like these, a cruel, weak and dying, one day upon her father's knee, or on my breast lying. The tears we shed, the prayers we said, were all for wild despairing. I've pulled 3 through and buried 2. Since then, now I'm past caring. 'Twas 10 years first, then came the worst, all for a barren clearing. I thought my heart would burst when first my man went shearing. He's droving in the great northwest, I don't know how he's faring. And I, the girl who loved him best, have grown to be past caring. My eyes are dry, I cannot cry, I have no heart for breaking. Where once it was in days gone by is empty, dull and aching. My last boy ran away from me, I know my temper's swelling, but now I only wish to be beyond all signs of caring, past bothering, past caring, past grieving and despairing. But now I only wish to be beyond all signs of caring. I always choose the songs that I can connect with emotionally, and I go for particular lyrics and phrasing that draw me into the storyline, and certain words you can hinge things on. And that I was drawn to that song predominantly because of there's a third verse describing a woman who's had really horrific experiences of childbirth and infant mortality, and I could somehow see myself in that place, bizarrely, even though I'm of a completely different generation and nationality. So I always try and find songs that I can really embody and be emotional with.
And how do you think you sort of convey that to the audience? How is it that you can draw them into that world as well?
It's not really about how you're singing or what you're doing musically. It's a feeling that you have in you, and you can just convey it in all manner of ways. So I don't know, really. It's just something I really, really want to do, and I think people connect to that.
Where does the story come from?
So it comes from a poem by Henry Lawson, who's an Australian poet who lived in Australia around that time, and he spent a lot of time in the wilderness meeting people, and so it's a fictional poem based on very real experiences he'd come into contact with. Now, I did a production called Down the Lawson Track about 2.5 years ago now, with Martin Wyndham-Reed, who's a brilliant singer, and the production was it was the life and times of Henry Lawson. So it was narrated by Shirley Collins and Pip Barnes, and Martin provided songs in between stories and bits of text. And that was one of the songs that he played, and the minute I heard it, I just felt incredibly sad and distraught, and it just stayed with me for about 6 months, and I thought I have to sing this song.
On Past Karen, you play the shruti box.
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
So it was actually my brother. Again, about 4 or 5 years ago, my brother was selling some instruments, and I bought a shruti and a tenor guitar from him for not very much money. And he discovered it on a website called Jazz, spelled Jas. It's an Indian instrument, but it's just half of an Indian harmonium without the keyboard, so it's a sort of cheaper version. But I just noticed that when you're singing on your own, unaccompanied songs, it really gives them a bit more of a depth and a life. And I'm into making songs sound more intense and a bit more harrowing. So if you're singing a murder ballad, it adds a really great edge, I think. So,
do you mind showing us how it works?
Yeah, so this one, the first shruti I had, I was on a train going home from London last December, and I think someone mistook it for a laptop. So it got stolen. So there was then a campaign on Facebook to raise money for a new one. Lovely people. My brother's embossed it with flowers and an inscription. Everything happens behind the scenes. This is like a piano keyboard. So you've got the white notes here and then the black notes here. So you can just make up 2-note or 3-note chords with by moving the wooden slats. So that's the bellows. So I'm going to make a chord of D here. So I'm just using the D and the A. And you're trying to keep the air going in and out without it running out. And then that's a D major chord there, just by using that 3rd note. And then D minor.
You also play the fiddle.
Yes.
You're well known for it. Now you've got a 5-string fiddle.
Yes.
So can you explain a bit about the advantages that has?
Yeah, so this is actually a 5-string viola rather than a 5-string fiddle. And I chose the viola rather than the 5-string violin because the sound is much deeper and more resonant. And I just thought it created a fuller sound. It just gives you a lot of scope, which you wouldn't have if you had either instrument. I do a lot of fiddle singing, so I can use this bass string, which is lower than my voice, so it provides a bassier sound. And then when you're in sessions, you've got the best of both worlds, because you can accompany with the viola end, or you can play tunes with the violin end. This is your Tim Phillips model of 5-string viola, and they're quite distinctive because they've always got this cutaway edge and the loop scroll.
So, did you start playing normal 4-string violin?
Yeah, I had violin lessons at school from, I think I was 8 when I started, and then took up the viola for the Young Folk Awards in 2003.